Everyone, hello. I'm Alizé from WeMakeIt. I will tell you more about WeMakeIt and crowdfunding. Let me just share my screen. All right. So I hope you can see the presentation. I call it crowdfunding superpowers because, well, to me, crowdfunding is more than funding. It has superpowers to help your project at whatever stage, at whatever level. And well, hopefully after today, maybe you will share a bit of my passion for crowdfunding and also get some ideas for your project or any future project on really how to harness the power of crowdfunding. Maybe just a few words about myself. Well, my name is Alizé, and before being into crowdfunding, I worked in impact investing also as an analyst. So to me, crowdfunding is a way of financing a project, kind of 2.0. I've also done a few campaigns myself, and I've also been involved in different startups. So I hope to give you as well my perspective from all those environments, kind of a 360 of financing a project. So first of all, the biggest question, what is crowdfunding? And since we are a very small group, I would like to invite you to engage and tell me what you think is crowdfunding and how it differs from traditional ways of funding. So maybe you use the chat or you can just use your microphone, but if anyone has like anything to say and to add, well, I'm listening. To you, what is crowdfunding and how does it differ maybe from a more traditional way of funding? Who wants to give it a go? Okay, awesome. So Joanna, it's a way to finance a project involving civil society. Yes, and helps in communication too. Yes, Joanna, you've said the most important things, exactly. So what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is firstly a way to finance your project, right? But instead of going to one institution, organization to ask for money, with crowdfunding, you actually try to reach as many people as possible and to involve them with different amounts to finance your total objective. So first of all, crowdfunding is a financing tool, but because of this community aspect, as Joanna said, civic society, right? It becomes as well not only a funding campaign, but a communication campaign. So I really hope that one big takeaway from today is that crowdfunding is not just funding, but it's communication. So you should really see, if you plan to do a crowdfunding campaign, the opportunity to do a big communication campaign for your project. And this is the big value added of crowdfunding in comparison to other traditional financing types. So now I want to give you some examples of, well, campaigns that use crowdfunding to do much more than financing. The first one is this project, Dejanev. I don't know if you know it because it's a project from the Impact Hub. Maybe you know Nicolas, who is the initiator of this project. So Dejanev is a new brand of luxury watches, but 100% circular, so made out of recycled materials and with a whole system of, they don't become waste, but they get repaired each time. So Dejanev did a crowdfunding to launch its business after having the prototypes and everything. And I guess this is maybe the most classical example of like what you can do with crowdfunding. They basically did their campaign to test their product to their community. So they offered the watches for pre-sales. So before investing in all of the inventory that is costly and then taking the risk that the product works or doesn't work, right? They actually used their campaign to do a pre-sale. So test the product. Does their community like it or not? And well, in their case, it was a big success. Actually, this campaign became our biggest campaign in Romandie with over 270,000. So they pre-sold their products, and now they are right now, so after their campaign finished, they are now buying all the materials to actually produce the watches that have been pre-ordered through the crowdfunding and sell them. So that's really, yeah, a very classic example. You do a crowdfunding to test your product, okay, to present it into the market and to use the campaign as, yeah, a massive market test. Then another example is EasyVrac. It's also a project from the Impact Hub, but in Lausanne. EasyVrac is a new shopping ecosystem where people can order food in little containers. So there is no plastic, there is no packaging. They order them in those containers, they get it delivered at home in those containers through people with bikes. And well, then there is a whole system of collecting the containers back and bringing them back to the company who washes them and reinserts them into the system. So EasyVrac did a crowdfunding for the launch of their website and their concept. So it's a bit similar to Dejanev. The first objective of the campaign was to pre-sell those memberships and subscription to the website and their delivery system, okay? But then they also did much more. They used the crowdfunding to build partnerships with different organizations working in the sustainability or eco zero waste sphere, right? And they offered as rewards some products from those partners to do mutually beneficial way of like communicating about each other. The partners gain visibility by offering some products like for example, a zero waste lunchbox. And then EasyVrac got some nice products to offer on their platform, their crowdfunding, to actually get some more donations. And well, what they did, EasyVrac, is also they sold as rewards like tickets or invites to join them and meet them at some events after the campaign, or also they organized zero waste workshops to gather their community together. So here in this example, we have kind of the pre-sale, but also opportunity to make some partnerships along the supply chain. And well, also this community aspect, which is super important. With crowdfunding, you actually have no more intermediary, no more boundaries. You are very close to your community, which is creating a new linkages, which is also pushing for more transparency. And I think that's also what people are looking for when they put money in a campaign. They want to see the people behind, they want maybe to join not just a project, but a whole community of like-minded individuals. So this is what EasyVrac has done. Another example to show you as well, to talk a bit more about community, is with this project, the Panam Academy. Actually, this project, so it is dance and yoga school in Lausanne. And they suffered from the COVID because they had to close their doors. So what they did, they were already existing. So it's not a startup this time, but they were highly affected by the COVID. They had to shut down for a few months, and well, now they had some costs that they had to still pay, and they needed money to survive basically after those months of closure. So they did a crowdfunding to reactivate their community and ask for help. So they raised more than 20,000, literally asking their community to help them in those hard times. And well, they used this campaign to sell future classes to reactivate their customer base, basically. So they offered super exciting private classes at very interesting prices so that people would, well, not only support them right now with the money that they needed, but also come back as a customer, and when the school would reopen, be there and participate in those activities. So I think that that's also quite a good example of how to harness the power of your community, or being close to them. And crowdfunding really allows you to do that. Another example is a documentary about the invisible woman in Switzerland. And I see Olivier and Jared from the Graduate Institute. The person behind this project is also a student of the Graduate Institute, is Maëgrif. And well, she started this campaign to finance the costs of the documentary about those invisible women. Invisible women are women without official legal papers who work in Geneva. So they are sometimes they clean offices and have those kind of jobs. And well, the documentary is about their lives because nobody really talks about them, but they are kind of everywhere as well. So the money was used to pay for the cost of the documentary. So it's not a lot of money, it's like less than 10,000. However, in this case, the crowdfunding campaign was also, it has a superpower to communicate about the invisible woman. So each person that received the link to the crowdfunding campaign could actually just ask themselves, oh, invisible woman, have I ever heard of them? Who are they? And well, this is like, this has a strong impact in terms of raising awareness about an issue. And I'm talking here about any social impact project. And well, I like to emphasize this with the Impact Hub community because the Impact Hub supports that kind of project. Whenever your project has a strong mission to generate a positive impact, even if your crowdfunding campaign is not so big, the communication behind it will generate a big effect in terms of, raising awareness about the issue that you are fighting for. So another example, and lastly, the last example I want to show you is this one. It's another documentary. This time it was made by kids / teenagers, and they come from Neuchâtel. And actually, it was not a documentary, but a mini movie, a mini horror movie in an old house. So you see the amount was super small, this time less than 5,000, and the people were super young. So they did a crowdfunding to finance as well the cost of making the movie. But what's super interesting in this example is that, well, first of all, you can see that maybe you are scared about crowdfunding and you think, oh, I need to be an expert to do a successful campaign. It's not the case. You see that even kids actually can make a campaign and be successful. So you can be confident. The key is to be well prepared, and I'm going to share with you in the next part of the presentation some tips about like how to make sure you have a successful crowdfunding campaign. But more importantly, by doing this crowdfunding, they obviously made a lot of communication and a lot of noise. And those kids, they were on the Radio Télévision Suisse, they were on the radio Couleur 3. They were invited at the International Film Festival of Neuchâtel. So remember, they come from Neuchâtel, so it's a bit of a local cluster, but they were invited there. They gained enough visibility to be called there. And after the movie, they got a lot of visibility. The state, the canton of Neuchâtel gave them an additional 3,000 post-production. Then they made a partnership with a local Swiss organization, Initiative pour les Glaciers. They decided to bring and to give their revenue to this association. And the main message here is whatever the amount of your campaign, whatever the level of expertise that you put in it, crowdfunding can be part of a much bigger funding strategy. It will give you some credibility. Well, first, it will confirm or not the success of your product or service or your idea, but also it will give you some credibility in front of another financing partner, for example. You can do a crowdfunding, like a small campaign, maybe 10, 20,000, then ask for further financing once your project has been validated. So don't see your funding strategy as just like you have to choose between one or the other, but they are really all interconnected and non-exclusive. So crowdfunding can help you maybe at the first stage to come up with a stronger argument to another financial partner. So to finish, just the small introduction about what crowdfunding is. Crowdfunding is, well, a project supported not just by one person, but by as many backers as possible. It's based on an exchange system with rewards or perks. And maybe I can just stop there to tell you that there are different types of crowdfunding. The most common one is the reward system. So you give money and you get something in return. As we have seen in those examples, you get the product itself or an invitation to an event or anything that could be as original as you want. You have donation-based crowdfunding. So just kind of charity crowdfunding. You just give and you don't necessarily get anything physical or any experience in return, just like the gratitude or the good feeling of having given your money to a project. So this you really see for charity or humanitarian project, purely donation-based crowdfunding. And then you have crowdfunding with financial returns. So you have crowd investing, where you crowdfund, so you give money and you get back some shares that you can resell some years later at an additional value. And you have crowd lending, where you give money, but you will get paid back with interest when the project generated enough revenue. So you have 4 types of crowdfunding. Today, I'm going to focus mainly on the reward-based crowdfunding because this is what WeMakeIt does, and this is also what I know best. So going back on what crowdfunding is, so it's also a low-risk financing for your project because you don't pay anything. A campaign will be free unless a campaign will be free if it's not successful. The fees that are generally charged by the platform as their revenue system will only be charged in case your project is successful. So you have kind of nothing to lose. If it goes wrong, well, you lost a little bit of time, but it's okay. Then, as I said, crowdfunding is obviously more than funding. And those are the examples that I talked about. You can use crowdfunding to test your idea, to do a big marketing communication campaign, to build a community around your project, or to reactivate a community, or to consolidate your existing community, to develop partnerships, and, well, to build your credibility and use it as a leverage to get additional funding. So this is it for kind of the broad introduction about what is crowdfunding. Maybe I should just stop here before I go into more detail, talking about WeMakeIt and giving you tips about crowdfunding. But maybe, do you have a comment or a question to make so far, or are you good to continue? No? Okay. It seems like there are no questions. And anyways, you can just speak up or use the chat at any time. So now let me tell you a bit more about WeMakeIt. WeMakeIt, so, is a Swiss crowdfunding platform. We are today the biggest platform in Switzerland with the largest community, and we operate in the whole Switzerland. So the German part, but also the French-speaking part. WeMakeIt has a high success rate for the project on our platform. It's about 61% success rate, which is quite high. To give you a benchmark, some other platforms are rather around 30. So we are kind of the double. Obviously, I cannot generalize this information for all platforms, but yeah, I think we are doing quite well. Also, the average contribution per donor is of 140 Swiss francs, which is quite interesting. I was very surprised when I started working with WeMakeIt with that number. I think it's due to the high purchasing power in Switzerland as well. But this is a very important number for you to keep in mind, because you can use it when you do your planning, when you do your budget, plan your expected community size times 140, and it gives you a pretty good estimate of the amount that you can try as an objective for your crowdfunding campaign. So 140 is the average. And well, WeMakeIt also has what we call project boosters, including one with Impact Hub. So I will tell you more about it in a second. But yes, we give special care and visibility to projects that fall within certain categories, and sometimes with partners, but sometimes also initiatives from WeMakeIt itself. And I think that's also quite interesting for project on WeMakeIt to be within your own community. I will give you more details about it in a second. So yes, WeMakeIt is a reward-based crowdfunding platform. So no lending, no equity, no charity, it's reward-based. Well, actually, we have seen charity campaigns on WeMakeIt. So they do exist. And they just offer symbolic reward, like, yeah, you give 50 Swiss francs and you can help one person getting access to tuition fees for 3 months in a country where education is highly lacking, for example. So it's a reward, but it's more symbolic. Very important, WeMakeIt works on the all or nothing principle. It means that if you reach your objective, well, perfect. If you go beyond your objective, amazing. But if you don't reach your objective, the one that you set for your campaign, you will not get anything. The money will be reimbursed to the contributors. So it's the reason behind it is quite straightforward. It's because us as a platform, we have a duty as well to the contributors, and our duty is to make sure that the project actually deliver what they promised after the campaign. So we ask the project to really set the amount of their crowdfunding campaign as the minimum necessary amount for the project's survival. So we think that if they don't reach that amount, the project will not happen, or not now. So in this case, we give the money back to the contributors. We also give the possibility to implement stretch goals, which means that you can start with a small objective and then have another objective that is higher and another one that is higher. And I think you have an unlimited amount of project that you can, of goals that you can set. WeMakeIt charges 10% on the total amount as a fee. That's our business model, and how and why we can be an independent platform without advertising. So it's kind of how we sustain ourselves. 10% only in case of success. So again, if you fail, if your campaign doesn't work, we won't charge you anything. Last but not least, I think what makes WeMakeIt, I think an interesting platform is the personalized support that we give. So WeMakeIt is a very small, no, it's not a small platform, it's a big one, but we are a very small team. We are 11 collaborators, mainly women, but not only. And we are all passionate about crowdfunding. We've been working with projects, having also different personal startup projects on the side. So entrepreneurship is really our passion, and we take special care to answer any requests that we receive. So for example, every single project gets a personalized feedback once they submit their project page on WeMakeIt. So we give advice, and it's not a robot, it's really a human being looking at the project and spending some time giving a feedback. We also offer, but this is a service that we charge, coaching services and promotion packages. So if you don't feel confident, you can get access to our coaches. I am involved in big coaching in Romandie, but we also have other team members that are super amazing. And we also give a lot of free resources, like free tutorials. We have a 7-day crowdfunding challenge. So you receive a lot of material to help you prepare before you launch in 7 days. And the boosters. So the boosters, as I said, are partnerships or initiatives that we have created to encourage some project in certain categories. So we have a booster with Impact Hub, Geneva, Lausanne, Bern, and Zurich. So it's we call them channel. It's a page dedicated to project associated with the Impact Hub network. Basically, the projects that are part of this channel, they receive from WeMakeIt free tutorial videos, and they receive the support of the Impact Hub community in their respective hub for promotion, communication. So I think in the newsletter and on social media, they would kind of talk about your project. So this is about the Impact Hub booster, but we also have other boosters. And if you are part of the Impact Hub booster, you can also join another one. So in general, it's good to have one booster, but you can have two as well. We have seen this and it's okay. So just to tell you about our other boosters, we have the Impact Fund booster for projects related to climate. We have She Makes It for a project led by women. We Make Solidarity. It's actually the booster that the dancing and yoga school that I showed you the example about before, the Panam Academy used. We Make Solidarity is a booster that we created for projects that were affected by the COVID. So it's a new booster that we launched in 2020. And another example is the Science Booster for projects related to science. Now, how does it work if you want to join a booster on WeMakeIt? So it happens when you set up your project page in your cockpit. You have the category admin, and there at the bottom of the page, you see you have the option to choose and to indicate to what booster you want to take part. So you just have to select the one that is relevant to you. And for the Impact Hub, what you have to do, and it's important to remember, is to mention to which Impact Hub community you are part. So either in your personal profile or on your project page, just to mention this is a project from the Impact Hub community of Geneva, Lausanne. This is for us to know which Impact Hub is our partner for your project and which one we should send the relevant information about your project so that we coordinate the communication together. So now let's look at a project page in more detail, see how it looks like on WeMakeIt. So this is an example from a swimwear brand, Mazzola, eco swimwear produced in Europe. So as you can see, well, you have obviously a title, you have a small summary description of your project on the top right. Very important, you have the 3 key elements of your campaign. So the amount collected versus the total pledged, the number of backers, and the days left. Actually, you have the days left, but this campaign is finished, but you also have the days left instead of the 100% for the running campaigns. You have a space for pictures and videos. I will tell you more about it when I will be sharing like some tips, but yeah, it's really important that you have, if not a video, well, a video is strongly recommended because it makes everything more personal and it builds some trust. People want to see the person behind the project. But if you cannot have a video, at least put some pictures here. It's super important to have an image illustrating your project. Then you see you have the possibilities to share your campaign page on different social media. Then you have the big text of your campaign. and WeMakeIt helps you to create your campaign page. So you have different categories with we kind of give you a structure that you can follow in case you don't really know how to pitch your idea here. And on the right side, you have the rewards. So you see they are shown like that. You have different scales of price, and you have the number taken. You can limit the rewards as well, which can be a good strategy to push people to give more at a certain time. You create a reward limited in time, like you have five rewards of this type available. It will really push someone interested to make the donation now and to not wait, because obviously only 5 left. So you want to be one of the 5 if you really want it. Okay, so this is how a crowdfunding page looks like on WeMakeIt. Now, well, what's the process? So very easy, and if you are all kind of into entrepreneurship, those images will be familiar. So it's obviously it starts with an idea, then you plan a bit your budget and the cost related to your campaign, right? And then you do your communication plan, hopefully with a team. It's going to be much easier the more people you are, because you can bring all different networks together. So it kind of increases the reach. If you are just by yourself, obviously it's doable, but with a team, it makes everything much easier. Then the campaign starts. So it's really about communicating about it and making some noise, creating a buzz, for the time of your campaign. That's kind of your main goal. And last but not least, celebrate. Because it's not because your campaign is done that you cannot, that you have no more contact with your community. You celebrate, and then you give your rewards, and well, you deliver what you have promised to your community, and maybe you even keep in touch with them. Okay. Any questions so far, or are we good to continue? Then the next part is a bit more technical. Okay. So I will continue, and now I will show you, I think, the 3 most important graphics that I hope that you will remember if you are planning on doing a crowdfunding campaign. So the first one is this one. It shows the dynamics of a crowdfunding campaign. So first of all, you can see the duration of a crowdfunding campaign. It's usually between 30 and 45 days, so 1 month to 1.5 months. The reason for it is very simple. Well, it can be a bit shorter or a bit longer, but it's really a good benchmark. And the reason for this duration is that, well, crowdfunding, as I said, it's really about communicating, making some noise, kind of creating a buzz effect around your project. So if it lasts for too long, usually people kind of get a little bit bored, or it loses its momentum, and it's difficult to keep people excited about your idea for like a longer period of time than 30 days. And if it's super short, well, then maybe you have more the buzz effect, but maybe you don't have enough time to convince people to give, to donate, to contribute, and to reach your total objective. So in general, it's about 30 days. And now you can see the dynamics is the same for every project. And I did a coaching for quite a big project in a couple of weeks ago. And they successfully finished their campaign. And they told me, we did a little debrief session after the campaign, and they told me, "You were right, Alizé. Everything that you said was true. Everything happened." And well, it made me smile, because it's not me. It's really, guys, believe me, statistically, this graphic will happen when you do a crowdfunding. So it just made me laugh that they were saying like as if I was a guru. But no, it's not me. It's really statistically this happens. So what happens exactly? It happens that in the first week of your campaign, you reach maybe 30 or more % of your campaign. So it's like the launch. Then you have a plateau phase where, okay, donations come, but they remain very progressive. It's growing little by little. And then at the end, you also have a little peak, and you can reach another 30% easily, sometimes even more. And sometimes it's not even in the last week, but it's in the last days. And I've seen people so stressed about like reaching their total objective, and everything happened in the last 24 hours or 48 hours. So really believe it until the end. The effect at the end is quite funny. I call it the student syndrome. Like when you have an assignment, you tend to procrastinate it, but closer to the deadline, you will eventually do it. And sometimes you spend an all-nighter before submitting it. So it's a bit of the same. You want to contribute, you think the idea is super cool, but yeah, maybe you wait and you are stuck in your routine and your work and your life. But then when it's getting closer to the end and you realize that you won't be able to contribute anymore, then you start to give. So that's why people tend to wait for the last minute. And now what is super important in this graph is to, first of all, to see the dynamic. So you understand and you are prepared for it. But also this 30% in the first week is like super, super important. And let me tell you that if you don't reach at least 30% in your first week, your project is unlikely to succeed. It's unlikely to succeed. The reason for that is very simple. It is because people who don't know you will not believe in your project unless it is successful. And 30% is what it takes for people to believe that your project has a chance to succeed. And when you think about it, it's in our human nature. We want to bet on a winning horse, right? Not on a sick horse. So this means two different things. And well, the first one is it means that you need to prepare for your launch and make sure that your launch is successful. So the most work that you will do for your campaign will happen before the launch to make sure that actually the launch is successful and you reach this target. And the second implication is that the first people who will donate in your project and contribute will not be unknown people. They would be your friends and people who believe in you, because they are the crazy ones that will give when your project has 0 contributions. So those are very important concepts to help you build and create a successful crowdfunding campaign. So now the second important graph is related to what I just said. It shows you the different phases of a crowdfunding campaign and the amount of effort and time that is required. And well, as you can see, so you have in orange, the launch, the plateau, and the end of your campaign. So before the launch, you have some steps as well, the preparation, and it's taking you a lot of time. And well, the teasing, still not as much as the preparation, but still you have something to do to prepare for your launch, to kind of do a pre-communication campaign to advertise your crowdfunding and tell people that it's going to start. Then at the launch, you have a lot of work, intensively communicate and send messages. And then during the plateau, it decreases and increases again during the end. And then, well, it's not the end, as I said, you still have to work, to communicate with your community, to deliver your rewards, and to do this whole follow-up in that phase. So the effort goes down progressively, but it doesn't stop when your campaign ends. And finally, so the last graph that is super important is the graph about your backers. Basically, as I said, it starts from the inside out. So it starts with you, your family, and your friends. And actually, they represent about 50 to 60% of your total backers. So, and the objective amount that you want to reach. So maybe a big misconception about crowdfunding and why projects tend to fail is that people tend to believe that they want to do a crowdfunding. The only thing they should do is to put a page on the platform and wait for the money to appear. but it doesn't work like that. Actually, the communication is your job and your task to do. So it's really your effort that will pay off. It's not just like the platform. We had last week I was giving a workshop for a startup incubator, and we invited as well one WeMakeIt project. And she said something super interesting. She said that she was surprised that the WeMakeIt community was giving, and she would see that from her backers, a lot had already given to other WeMakeIt projects. So yes, of course, it's pleasant to know that the community from your platform, and maybe that's why you should find a platform that is, suitable for your project and align with like your project values. Of course, it contributes a little bit, but you cannot rely on it. The main source of contributors is from your own network and your existing community. So it's at least half of the objective that you are targeting. So it starts with the 3F, family, fools, and friends at the beginning. They give when nobody else trusts you. When your project has 0 backers, they will be the first ones. Then you expand to maybe your existing or growing community. Okay, the fan. Those are people who already kind of know that you exist or have already heard about you. And the last stage is to reach out to the unknown community. So the external community, the ones that share a common interest, but that don't know you yet. And once they will hear about you, they might become a member of your community. To reach to those external community members or future community members, we tend to look for what we call multiplicators. So it's either an article in the media or having someone from a political influence or a blogger or influencer on social media, some people that can give you a lot of visibility. All right. So to give you some tips now for your communication plan, because now I guess that you have understood by now that, yeah, crowdfunding is about funding, but about communication, and that you will have to be prepared for your campaign. You cannot just start it with a nice project page. So it's really about starting and asking yourselves those very important questions to build and create your communication plan. The first one is, what's the size of my existing network? Remember, it will contribute to at least half of your objective. Then, what other communities can I get on board? So this is the external community. Who exists out there? Who is there? Identify them, make names, look for websites, look at forums, look at different groups, identify them, see how you can get in touch with them, how you can reach them. It's very important. Are there potential partnerships to be made, maybe with another community? Maybe they can be involved in the campaign somehow, so they also have a sense of belonging, and they will be more willing to help. Then, well, let's look at the multiplicators as well. Try to identify them in advance. Who could talk about my project? Who could help me reach out to the external community that don't know my project yet? And then, super important, what will you communicate during your campaign? So at each stage of your campaign, the launch, well, the pre-launch, the launch, the plateau, and the final phase, what is the message that you will be communicating to attract people to donate and to make yourself heard and known? And then, when do I need to write to who and through which channels? So let's say if you try to get a friend on board, you might call your friend or go for a coffee. But if you are reaching out to a Facebook group of people with the same interest as your project, well, you might use Facebook, or you might use emails for your existing community. If you have a newsletter or something, if your business is already existing. So all of those questions will help you really prepare for your crowdfunding campaign, prepare for your communication plan, and make sure that your campaign is a success. So just pausing here, any question so far? Gulpar, I think I can hear you.
Well, I was just wondering if you know omaze.com. This is like a platform also that they raise money for different organizations, but they are working with celebrities in Hollywood, and they offer something. In which category do you place Omaze, if you know them?
I don't know them. If you can share the name on the chat, I would be super happy to
Sure.
have.
Yeah, there's two Omaze already. One, and they raised a lot of money actually, because they have, for example, Charlotte Theron, all the celebrity coming with a Ferrari or a house, and people they are paying for that and hoping to get one of this reward, and they raised a lot of money. And there is another Omaze. I will just write the name for you.
Yeah, thank you. So is it a platform or it's a project that
actually, to me it's a platform, because it's like it's an American platform, and I think there's two Omaze. There's one that they are not they are non-profit. There's one which is with all the celebrities and everything, which is for profit. There's two Omaze. So let me just share the name on the chat. Omaze.com, but it's just that I was wondering if you know them. It's not a question or something, because
No, I don't know them, but yeah, I would be super curious to see now that you've talked about it, who they are. So yeah, please just write them in the chat and I will check it out after the presentation.
Yeah, please. It's very interesting it's to me it's very innovative, and at the same time, well, I'm not sure if I have heard about a good thing and bad thing about it. So that's I was wondering if you know.
No, I don't, but maybe I can just share with you kind of my insight when it comes to what crowdfunding platform to choose for your project, because it's obviously all the time a big question. And myself, I've been collaborating with different platforms. So I would say it really depends on different factors. Well, obviously the features of the platform, like what are the conditions, the costs, any commission, is it all or nothing? Well, is it reward based? Is it like crowd investing or crowd lending? So kind of all those features. Sometimes you have super innovative and cool stuff, and specific features for specific projects. Like for pre-sale, you can have a really like a rewards with the pictures on the reward itself. On WeMakeIt, for example, the pictures are in the text but not on the reward box. It's okay, and we have many pre-sales projects that are successful like this, but like kind of do your little prospection. But then I would say it's also very important to look at the platform in terms of what is their community, what is their vision, what are their values, what other type of project are there to first be aligned with your project. Let's say you want to open a local shop like EasyVrac. You promote like zero waste, local shopping, etc. So it makes sense maybe to use a local platform or like a national platform rather than going like, with an international platform, because the message is going to be super strong. Okay, so we use a local platform because our project is local. So in terms of values, I guess there should be an alignment. And then also in terms of what you need for your project, do you need a lot of support? Are you comfortable? What are the resources, the support that the platform can give you? I think this is also something that you can look at. So that's that's maybe my advice when it comes to choosing a platform.
Sure.
So we have 5 more minutes, and it's just enough time for me to give you my best hacks for a successful crowdfunding campaign. So it's really according to me, what's like the most important stuff that you should remember and that will help you succeed. So the first of all is to set a realistic objective. And I like to say to the project that I coach that any campaign can be successful as long as the objective is realistic. So obviously, if you are an entrepreneur alone with a startup, no existing community, and you just started now, so you don't have like 6 months of Instagram, Facebook page. If you want to set up an objective at 100,000, 150,000, I might tell you it's a little ambitious. So you might prefer to start small. Then if you are a local shop, you already exist, you have a strong community, you have a lot of, your personal network is huge, and you want to do a very small crowdfunding for a specific project, I might tell you like, okay, but you can achieve much more. So the idea really is to set an objective that aligns different factors. So obviously your needs and the cost of them, so your budget, but also the size of your community, the estimated community, but your existing community or your existing personal network. Because remember, it's accounting for like at least half of like your total objective. And finally, also, how much time do you have to invest in the crowdfunding per se, and how much skills you have in communication? If you are brand new to this, if you are alone, if you work in a team, if you are working full-time on your startup, or if you have a job on the side, it will also, affect how much effort you put into it, and it will affect the success. So really think about your objective in those terms, like your time and resource, your community and network, and your costs. And then you can start tomorrow. And if your objective is realistic, you should be fine. Second tip is really to show yourself, and crowdfunding is really personal. What makes a project successful is this proximity with the entrepreneurs. It's seeing the person behind the project. It's creating a link with this person through the reward system. So don't hesitate to make a video, even if you're not a professional, but just, filming yourself, showing yourself, talking about your story. The language should be rather fun, cool, personal than formal and corporate. It's not a business plan, it's a crowdfunding. It's something that is completely different in the way that you pitch and you speak to your community. Then, well, I've talked about it already, but remember this, start with your mother, start with your closest friends, family, and network. They will be the ones believing in you at the start. So it really starts with them, okay? Then know your public and adapt your message. So when I say public, I say potential contributors, right? So really make this effort to identify who are those groups that can be interested or could be interested in your project, and what do they want? Why would they contribute to your project, and what can you give them to convince them? So you make your pitch, you make your rewards according to this public that you have identified, so that you make sure that you attract them. It shouldn't be disconnected. Even if you have some cool ideas, who is your crowd? Will this be enough to convince them? Yes, make some noise. Really, crowdfunding is about communicating. So think about it this way. It's about an intense communication campaign, an intense buzz for a short period of time, like 1 month. So your objective should be that everyone that you see, that you talk to, should hear about your project. And you will be exhausted to talk about it, but it's intense, but then it stops. So make the most of it and take any opportunity to communicate about your project. Be original. So especially in your rewards, that's how people are actually going to remember you. So they will be laughing, they will be, remembering you, and they will be more likely to contribute. The most original reward that we had was someone that was saying, I'm going to tattoo myself with something of your choosing. So these are the things that, sometimes people get super amused about, and well, it can convince that, hey, this project is like super, super cool, super open. And we have serial contributors that give every month to certain project, and this is kind of the thing that attracts them. Lastly, don't underestimate the preparation time. So I've talked about it, but it's really by preparing yourself well and anticipating all of the stages and getting your communication plan ready that you will make sure your campaign is successful. I'm going to share this presentation with you. Those are some useful links that will give you a bit more information about WeMakeIt and the Impact Hub Booster, the Impact Fund Booster. So I encourage you to have a look when you receive the presentation. And I think I am right on time to say that it's a pleasure for me to have shared a bit of my experience on crowdfunding. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer it now, but also don't hesitate to contact me. I'm super happy to have a specific look at your project and give you my feedback on whether, how we can do a crowdfunding campaign to help it out.
So just have a question very quickly. Thank you. First of all, it was very clear for me, especially I didn't know that much about crowdfunding in that term. And I have a question. Actually, I'm helping start. I mean, it's not a startup. It's a landscaping company that they are going to being bankrupt. And I'm helping because they don't have any business model. I'm helping with them to have a business model. They are in need for 50,000, something like this, to be able to pay the salaries, to pay the everything. I was wondering if now after this, listening to you, if it's something that I can consider to do a crowdfunding for this company at this, because we are going first try with the bank because to open the commercial account for them. But first, the business model that I'm preparing is going to take 3 or 4 months for them, and then even for the bank. And I was wondering if crowdfunding can be something useful that help them to have this money.
Yes, of course. So the idea here would be to present and introduce the concept, find people who would potentially believe in your idea and support it, and say, hey, you can support us in our creation. So this is what we need. You can even say, we will do a big business plan for a massive fundraising with a bank. But we need to do this and this and that before. So we need your support for now, like 15,000 to create the business plan, pay for like a few salaries, etc., to help us make it happen, and then present the project to the bank, for example. So those are the kind of super transparent and honest communication message that you can share with your community. So I would say it can work.
Okay.
I also have a question I see in the chat from Yuki Mashida. So if it's an electronic product, how finished should it be? Could it be a prototype? So it depends on what you want to finance. Do you want to finance the making of the prototype? Because you can make a campaign and say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, this is my idea, I need to create a prototype for it in order to, get the first steps done for my business and test it. So support me to create the prototype. Or you can have the same company, but you have invested with your own money to do the prototype. And then you want to use the crowdfunding to sell your product or pre-sell it. So in this case, it would be, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, this is my product. I've already done the prototype, and this is the stage I am at. I'm ready for a launch. Now I need to build my customer base. So this is my finished product. You can buy it at a super cool discount and then meet me for a big event where we will all celebrate the first contributors to my project, and this would be another strategy. So there is no right or wrong. It really depends on what is your goal with crowdfunding. So I hope it answered the question.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, Jared, of course.
So on their last list of points, I thought number 4 was really important, because in my experience, when I did my crowdfunding campaign, there was a local magazine that posted something on Facebook for me, and that it got so many views. And so I was wondering, what tips do you have for reaching out to media people? Because, for example, for my project, someday I'll probably I would like to reach out to this thing called Kyoto Journal, which is like this Japanese cultural magazine. And that's totally like a target audience of mine. So how would you reach out to those type of people, the people with like a public platform?
Yeah. So with the media, I've heard as well so many stories. So you have the strategy of writing a lot of different emails to a lot of different media. So maybe you target 20 and you hope that 1 or 2 will pick up. So you would write a title in your email that is super catchy, like next superstar project for your article. You target a journalist that is likely to be interested in your topic. So you do a bit of research for, I would say, even for the 20 media, it's a good exercise because it will really increase your chances of them, talking about your project. But yeah, you really try to research who would be likely to write, even write to 2 or 3 different journalists within the same journal with a customized message. So what will trigger their attention? What would they be looking for? Maybe for the media, it's good to write to them either at the start, if you have a super innovative product, like the watch example, we will revolutionize the watch industry, the luxury watch industry in Switzerland, like you want to hear about our story.
Is that a success story that you've had at WeMakeIt?
They had this story, yes. And they had this story with the media as well. And they tried a lot of different media, and they had quite a successful answer ratio. But most importantly, I would reach out to the media maybe when my project has reached at least half of its objectives, so I can really say, I'm not kind of lying to you, my project is already successful. Or even better, I've seen some strategies where you start with a small stretch goal. You are sure that you are going to reach this first goal. So let's say 10, 15,000. Boom, you reach it in 2 days, and then you go to the media and you say, hey, you want to talk about the campaign that reached its objective in 2 days. This is way more attractive. And then maybe your next stretch goal is 20 or 30, but you have kind of a story behind. So that's the things to think about with the media. But I could also recommend that you check within your personal network who would know a specific media, because I know in Switzerland it works a lot through connections. Mm-hmm. So this is also something that can help. So if you have an entry door, maybe try to work on that as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So I think we are running out of time, but yeah, feel free to reach out to me. In any case, I will send you an email with this presentation and some additional resources. So you should be good to keep in touch with me if needed. And thanks a lot for your interest in crowdfunding. And thanks a lot as well for being here today and your interactions. It was super, super great.